Clark Kent is on his dying deathbed. Lois Lane comes to him and says, "My husband, I just want to confess something. I had a one-night affair with Superman." And he said, "I want to confess something to you. I am Superman." And she said, "Oh, that takes such a weight off of my shoulders. You're also Batman, right?" It's Sunday night and it's Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. Welcome to the show tonight. The greatest DC comic show on YouTube is here and you found it. We're so excited about that. Tonight, saluting Women's History Month. Before we welcome our very special guest back to the show, we'd love to welcome Tim the Comic Collector, but that's not possible. And we'd also love to welcome Comic Food 2814, formerly a furry, not possible as well. But I can welcome, because he's been backstage for about 15 minutes now, Mr. Signature King himself, Tony Fett. Hi, Tony.
What's going on, everybody?
Doing well. I was about to tell Christy on you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was. So I'm like, where's my Tony at?
It probably was her fault anyway. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So good to see you there. So this week, when we get to the retro review portion, it's a book that I actually picked, but I wanted to do this for, because March is Women's History Month. Hopefully I said that correctly. Is that correct, Sarah?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And I knew the perfect person to do this story with is our special guest who we're welcoming back right now, silver-haired Bronze Age babe. It's great to see you and have you back on the show.
Oh, gentlemen, thank you. I love hanging out with you guys, and I am thrilled to go through the madness that is the retro review, and being an honorary fanboy is, like I've said before, one of the great honors of my life.
It certainly is an experience.
And, it is that.
Yes, and we actually have a noob as a guest next week, which we'll announce at the end of the show. Actually, the next 2 weeks we have noobs as guests. So you're an old pro now.
Well, yeah, and I was going to say maybe some of us should start a support group. It's like I was on Fanboys. Hi, my name is Silver Bronze Age Babe.
Yeah,
I was on Fanboys.
Yeah. But it's great to see you here. It's great to have you back with us again. And of course, if you're watching on the rewind, we welcome you so much to this. And I'm so appreciative that you're going to want to stick around to enjoy what we're going to present tonight. But those joining us in the live chat, let's say hi to them right now. And starting out with our good friend, Copy 801. What's up to you? Hope that you're doing well at the Electric Band-Aid. And Copy also drops some DC Comics news each week on his channel, so make sure to check that out and subscribe him. You want to support this entire community because there's some great people. By the way, silver-haired Bronze Age Babe, I've left the link for her YouTube channel in the description to this video. Please sub her up. She puts out such great content. I gush over her every time she's on because I'm a huge fan, and I'm so excited she's with us. Christy is here. How are you doing, Christy? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping to see us. Our friend Poor Mike is here, and we say hi to you. Good to see you. James is here. Warlord, good to see you. We have the Sniper Who. I'm so glad that you're here too, especially with our guest. Sniper Who is Nathan, who used to come into the comic book store. And Nathan, you're about, I know you like yourself some Superman. Our guest here, right there, she knows a lot about Superman.
I love the Kryptonian. I really do.
Yes. Michael is here. Michael, thanks for stopping by. That's awesome. And it wouldn't be a fanboy show if Paul S. wasn't here. I love that cover that he uses for part of his avatar there too. Yes. That brings back some memories. So
nice.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we'll salute everyone else that joins us in the future as well as the show continues. So as we, Sniper Who saying nice, yeah. So in Sniper Who, I owe you an email. I know I do. I always think of it when I'm like 10 minutes from falling dead asleep. I'm like, I didn't write him today, and I was going to. He wrote me this awesome email, and I've been meaning to write him back, and I've been a bad friend.
Well, as long as you admit it.
Yeah.
Fully admitted. So
I've been bad.
yeah, I've been bad. I've been naughty. And he lives in this town. He could, I mean, track me down a little bit faster than all the other people I've been bad friends to. So as we segue into the DC news, Tony, I want to bring up one thing first that I think is interesting. This past week, they released a remastered version of the Filmation Batman cartoons. And comparing the remastering to the original, I saw some stills. It's amazing. Now, they've done this already with the Filmation Aquaman. Now I'm reading that, is it the Fleischer Superman? The original ones that they did, the serials, the animated ones, those are being remastered for a release coming up this spring. I think that's pretty cool. Sarah, I wanted to ask you too, one thing I'm not sure if I even know the answer to this. Are there any superhero cartoons that grabbed you? I know some of those came about a little bit after probably your...
Yeah, I was it was beyond my day. So I was beyond it. So the quick answer is no. The cartoons I remember when Super Friends in the 70s came on. But even though I was collecting at the time, the art was so different and the vibe was so different that I just, wasn't really looking at it. So no, the animated stuff, with the exception of I did watch the animated Red Sun. The Superman thing, which I adored. We did the book here last year on the Retro Review, and I was like, oh wait, there's a movie, so I liked that a lot, which makes me think I should probably dip into some of these things to not remain as ignorant as I obviously.
Yeah. Tony, would you agree with me that generally DC's animated properties seem to really, they don't take a lot of flack, I don't think. The only flack that I think that they get is that they're too short, at like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, and they're done very well. It seems like they're written well. The stories progress. I wish that the movies were done. In some cases, you can kind of tell that they put out like a big animated movie before a big blockbuster release, and you can kind of tell it's like them dipping their toe in the water, like, how's this movie going to be received? How's this character going to be received? How's this story going to be received? The biggest one I could look at was Suicide Squad animated movie. I can't remember which one. Assault on Arkham. Was the first time that they had like the big Suicide Squad animated with Deadshot leading the group, introducing Harley Quinn, bringing on King Shark. And it did really well. I thought like that was going to be like the movie because it was perfect. It even had Batman in it, and it was amazing. But they didn't go that route. They also had the Joker in the movie, and I thought it was really great. Harley Quinn's hammer had a secret bioweapon hidden in it, so they were trying to get Harley's hammer back. But so was the Joker, and Batman was also trying to get it. So you had all three of these teams trying to get Harley's hammer back. So this was a really fun movie. But yeah, and overall, animated movies are great. I wish they'd bring some of them to the live action.
Yeah. I will say that, just jumping back to the Filmation, Sarah, are you familiar with any of the Filmation DC stuff, like the Batman or Aquaman or Superboy or?
A big nothing. It's like you're speaking Chinese to me. I know not any of this.
Okay.
So
I do want to tell you that, there's nostalgia for me because I remember watching some of these during, the Bozo show would play like the 6-minute Batman cartoon here or whatever.
Yeah.
Growing up as a kid, but the remastering on these,
it looks cool.
Really something. They whoever did it, kudos to them because they really made them look pretty good. So check that out. Tony, what do you have for DC news?
Oh man, some interesting tidbits. I'm gonna pop my screen up here. Not that one. Oh, time out. We had too many tabs open. Let's do it this way. I'm gonna start off with this article. Which one is it? Nope. One of these. Sorry. Here we go. So in the Penguin spin-off HBO Max series from The Batman, they've announced some casting news. Clancy Brown as Salvatore Maroni. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's good.
He's a good actor. He knows the DC universe well. He's been in it a long time. The earliest I remember him as being Lex Luthor with Superman the animated series, and continuing to be Lex Luthor all the way through Justice League Unlimited. He came back as Gorilla Grodd. He even voiced Lex Luthor in the DC Universe Online game, which continues to thrive today. General Ling, he was General Ling in the Flash TV show.
Yep.
So
I do remember that. Yep.
He's been in the DC Universe a very long time, so good casting choice. So hold your breath for this next article. For the 100th time in our lifetimes, Batman Beyond officially in the works as a live-action show or movie. I mean,
Warlord would love that.
Yeah, right. I think I've heard this article, like I said, about 100 times since I've been alive.
We hear that as many times as we hear Henry Cavill is or is not Superman.
Yep. And reading this article, it does kind of make sense to bring it back Michael Keaton. It sounds like Michael Keaton will be Bruce Wayne, which is good because he's in the Flash, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of a pain in the neck because that means it takes place outside of the current DC universe, I imagine, from what James Gunn is going to make, unless he's going to make Michael Keaton that bad. And who knows? We'll have to wait and see the Flash movie to see where this one takes place in. But moving on, a little bit of director news. Ben Affleck set to direct the new Batman movie, which is pretty cool. I'm excited for it. That's pretty awesome. He was Bruce Wayne. So, and if you remember, he was previously going to direct, write, and star in his own set of movies within that particular DC universe. So that's kind of cool. So, but I guess he's back still in the DC universe. But pretty interesting. Last little bit of news here I got is the Henry Cavill, I guess. Obviously not Superman, but sounds like he's still somewhere in the DC universe, possibly a director or producer credit.
So is this what you get when you get your role taken away from you? You get to...
you get producer money. You don't have to do anything.
They got to apologize somewhere.
All right. Here's a pile of money, and we can have your name on the producer credits.
Right. But I thought those articles were pretty interesting. But yeah, it sounds like Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck will be around a little bit, at least. If it's true.
Probably so they don't sue DC for a breach of contract.
Hey, that's an idea. Maybe this is them
I think we
saying,
just nailed
please don't
it
sue
right
us.
there.
I never thought of that. That's a good theory.
It's like, you jokers signed me to this, so.
Yep.
Makes sense. I like it.
What works for all of us?
Hey, all parties would be happy, but
exactly.
Because honestly, I would be okay with it because Ben Affleck is a really good director.
Totally. Yeah.
So I'm sure if it is true and he is directing, I'm sure it's going to be great.
So would that be like the Robert Pattinson Batman or a different?
No, the James Gunn Batman.
The James Gunn Batman.
Yeah. And Ben Affleck did, a couple of years ago, talk about what his Batman movies would have been like. It would have been, he would have drew all kinds of inspiration from several different foreign films. One of the Batman movies would have been like an Arkham-focused movie, where he has to go all the way. It's either all the way to the top of Arkham or all the way to the bottom of Arkham for some reason. And that's inspired by some Japanese samurai film. I can't remember the name of it, but he's got to fight all the bad guys in Arkham to get to a goal to stop, something from happening. Which, who knows? It probably would have been a good movie.
It sounds kind of good.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, especially if you can have all the rogues gallery, at least cameo somewhere, because some of them haven't really appeared anywhere else except for comics and maybe animated series like Clayface. That'd be pretty cool.
So speaking of Batman villains, I'm seeing it news-wise that Chip Zdarsky is doing a major, shockingly makeover on a classic Batman villain.
Oh, okay.
In Batman 133, it's saying not only is Batman getting a new costume, but so is the Riddler.
I don't know how I feel about that. I guess I have to wait and see and reserve my judgment. But
yeah,
given past performances, I'm not particularly thrilled. It bothers me when people are like, "This is, I'm going to totally redo this character. Here's my take," and it's usually never very good.
Yeah.
But who knows? I could be wrong, and this could be a home run for DC. I don't know. Which I hope it is. I really do. I hope it is, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Silver Hair Bronze Age Babe, have you had a chance to see the Flash trailer?
I did. I thought it was awesome. I'm Batman.
I was really curious what you thought about Supergirl, since that's not the traditional Supergirl.
I was like into it. It's like, seems good to me. It seems like it fits in with the vibe that they've got going, at least in the trailer. I feel bad that Ezra Miller is such a wounded soul, because I liked him when he first showed up in Justice League or whatever iteration that was. I thought he was a great Flash. I thought it made a lot of sense. And I thought this trailer looked great. And, to have Michael Keaton show up, I mean, give me a break. That was just, this old fart was thrilled.
If they just wanted to if they want to do Flashpoint, they should just do Flashpoint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's clearly like major inspirations from Flashpoint. Like, just do Flashpoint.
Do you ever think that the folks in the DC movie world are just overthinking everything all the time? It's like, it doesn't really have to be like MCU. Does it? Just go make some movies. Go hire some good people.
Well, I agree. I completely agree. But like, look at their classic stories that are like super popular. That everyone, and Flashpoint is up there. It's in the top 10. I'd watch that movie 5 times. You know what I mean? If they did a true to story Flashpoint, you know what I mean? Like, how crazy would that be? Jeffrey Dean Morgan as a Thomas Wayne Batman, like, that would be so awesome.
I like what you said, Tony, when a month or so ago when you were talking about James Gunn and what he was planning on doing, and you said something like, "Well, clearly he's pawing through the dollar bins to find stories."
Yeah, get out of the 50-cent bin.
Exactly.
Look at the back wall.
I know. Look at the wall books.
Yeah, the wall books are where the money's at. You know what I mean? If it's at your knees or below, it's not that good.
If you have to crouch down on the floor, it's not a good.
If it's not in a bag and a board, that's a good time.
Yeah, that's you're exactly right, and I feel like that's what DC's doing. You know what I mean? Like, not that they probably, who knows? They could do this whole new thing, and I could just look like I got egg on my face now, which I honestly I hope is true. I hope this is amazing.
We hope we're all wrong.
It's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm just not getting. I mean, the stories they announced, Superman Legacy, great, that's cool, but like, really, that's where you're gonna start Superman Legacy? That's not even his top 50 stories for Superman. Why are you going to start there?
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah. Sarah, have you had a chance to read the new Superman comic book? Because I'm
did.
hearing very mixed reviews on it.
I did, and I got kind of waylaid on like the portrayal of Lois Lane. Because she's made editor-in-chief again. Now I know nothing. Okay, so I know nothing about what has come before it or why this is being rebooted or anything. But I thought the Superman part was okay. I didn't understand a whole lot of but Parasite's in it, and I like Parasite. That's a good villain. And who's the first woman villain that's in this thing? Someone I don't know because I
haven't read it. So
yeah, Silver and Bronze Age. So
yeah,
I thought it was fine, but for every modern comic I read, I'm just like, boy, I bet a lot of people who know more than I are really getting a kick out of this because it's all just floating right over my head. But I didn't really care for the portrayal of Lois Lane, her few panels in here, because she's been made editor-in-chief. And apparently they think that a strong woman needs to be portrayed as a shrieking, harping woman who just stands and poses and screams at the newsroom. It's like, I don't think Lois Lane would do that.
Yeah,
but
Perry White did all that.
Perry White,
she's
she's like Perry White in a skirt, So
you're right.
That's not Lois Lane. I think Lois Lane would be too busy wanting to go out on stories of her own to actually manage.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
she's not a manager type.
Exactly.
I mean? She doesn't have the skill to delegate.
Yeah, and she wouldn't want to, and she would be miserable, and that's what you would do with Lois Lane as managing editor. But they didn't ask us, Tony, so
Yeah, the fans, how weird.
Why give the people who are spending their monty what they want?
No. Yeah, right. It's like they brought on someone off the street who didn't know who Lois Lane even was.
Yeah. Hello to our friend Super Russ 9000. It's great to see you there.
Hey, Russ.
Yeah. Does that kind of wrap up our news?
For the most part, I think there was one other article I was looking at here. I don't know if you guys saw the cool Jack Black Superman video. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
Mark Guggenheim. You guys remember?
I know where you're going with this.
Not particularly thrilled with DC Studios. They never called him. So he is, I guess, out of work. So when the Arrowverse comes to an end, he's out.
And the Arrowverse is coming to an end.
Yep, very soon. And he never got a call from DC Studios, and he made it very clear that he was not happy. However you feel about the Arrowverse, some people loved it. I didn't hate it. It was. Yeah. I get it. It was for TV, so they got to cut stuff down and make things work.
There were things I loved about it, and then some things I didn't like. Flash, I thought started out as one of the best shows they had, and then towards the end was almost unwatchable.
Yeah, it was a nosedive.
Yeah, they seem to be all of the shows like Arrow and Supergirl and Flash start out really strong. Like they have 3 really good seasons.
Yep.
And then something happens, and then it just spirals, like you say, into unwatchability. And, which is sad.
When Caitlin and Cisco left the show, it was like, that's not even really a show anymore. Like,
right.
When I was watching Supergirl, and the main thing of the story is, what was the little girl's name? Alex's little girl that she adopted, was it Esma? And everything was about her and Esma and the baking contest. And I'm like, first of all, what kid in 1st or 2nd grade has a baking contest? They shouldn't be using ovens.
Is that where they designed easy bake ovens for?
Yeah, baking with a light bulb. Come on, it can happen.
So
anytime you've got I have a friend who calls I don't know if you guys remember Dondi, but Dondi was a cartoon character in the 60s who just was like cherubic, and so every time there's a kid in a movie, it's like, oh, Dondi's here.
Yep.
So when Dondi's show up, the end is nigh.
But yeah, he's not moving forward with DC and Warner Brothers. So I don't know how I feel, because Arrowverse was shaky at some points. It was good at some points, not terrible, but I like Legends of Tomorrow. It used to be my wife and I's show. And then,
that one's good too.
Yeah, I liked it when they brought on John Constantine, so it was pretty awesome. I love how they little nod to him, like, hey man, everybody knows he got hosed on season 2, out of the season 2. So
well, maybe this is doing Guggenheim a favor. It's like, you know what, you don't have to.
It's hard to criticize him because it's when you making stuff for television and movies, it's completely different. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it is.
Television, they're like, you can't use this good character. You can't all these characters that like.
Yeah.
You can't use them, so figure it out. You got to do this storyline. You got to do a Justice League movie.
Yeah.
With these characters, and you're just like, man, this is like F-level Justice League that we're talking about.
Yeah. You can have Mr. Mixel-Pitalik, but he has to be good looking.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know,
you can do the Spectre, but you can't at the same time. It's like, come on, man. They did Red
Hello
Man
to
too.
Nosh Head. It's great to see you stopping in. Always good to get to spend time with you as well. Thanks for being here today.
Oh man, but who knows where he'll land? Best of luck, but I'm not surprised.
I'm not either. I mean, the Arrowverse is kind of done.
Yeah. Who knows? But that's it.
That wraps
That's all
up
I
our
got for
DC
news.
news.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. So for the retro review tonight, as we segue into this, as I said, it's a book I picked. It's a Wonder Woman book. Surprise, surprise. Clutch the pearls.
How did you ever come up with the idea?
I mean, how original, you know? But it is Women's History Month. And this is our first show in Women's History Month for this year. In 1972, DC published Adventure Comics number 416. And that was the first all-female issue of all heroines, but it was all reprints. There was nothing original on there except for a fantastic wraparound cover. 10 years later, in 1982, they did this story, exactly the one that Sarah's holding up. Judgment in Infinity. It's a 3-volume Wonder Woman story. This covers Wonder Woman 291, 292, 293. This is the first all-female team-up that DC ever did in a story. This is also was supposed to celebrate Wonder Woman's 40th anniversary as a character. And that's what we're going to retro review as soon as we say hello to John's Comics with Kids. Good to see you. And we have the bottom tier collector here. That's awesome. I love that avatar.
Oh, it must be James Gunn.
Yes.
Yes, the Magic Encyclopedia. That's right. So what we're going to do is take a look at this first story, and it is not every female character of DC, and I want to talk about that when we wrap up the retro review. But we start out, I'm going to take book 1, which is Wonder Woman 291. We have a cover there with Zatanna, and essentially on our splash page there, we see kind of the characters that we're going to be dealing with over this next 3 issues in this story that introduces a villain called the Adjudicator. So there on page, our first page of the story, we have Etta Candy. And once again, she's popping chocolates because they didn't know what to do with this character. She doesn't say woo-woo like she used to in the Golden Age. But she's popping chocolates, and she and Diana Prince are talking about their missing roommate. Diana can't tell her that she knows what has happened to their missing roommate, who's actually the Silver Swan, because she's battled her as Wonder Woman. She can't tell Etta that. All of a sudden, this alarm goes off, and General Darnell is heading out to see what's going on. Diana figures this is time for some Wonder Woman. She uses the magic lasso and she twirls it around. And she starts to head out to see what has caused this alarm, this commotion. And it's the Adjudicator. He's a brand new villain. He's hovering over in the Washington Monument by the mall there. And he isn't saying anything, but he's got this big orb and this big globe. And what does the military decide to do? They decide to start firing on him. And Wonder Woman's like, okay, we need to stop this because we don't even know if he's evil right now. He could be okay. He could be someone who's in trouble. So she needs to get there. And so she moves, uses the lasso to move a potential vehicle accident there. She sees that they're going to start firing more and heavier arterial on the Adjudicator. And she knows they can't do that. So she jumps up as they fire this missile, and on the next page, she uses her bracelet and deflects the missile. So and she makes sure that it stops him as they continue to fire again at him. And this does draw the attention of the adjudicator, and he starts with these light beams that come out, and they seem to be like frozen and immobile and can't do anything. And Wonder Woman uses the lasso to try to will them to hold everything together so they don't disappear. They disappear. She tries to get a hold of the adjudicator there by lassoing his foot, and she's got him a little bit. She's digging in, but he's able to withstand and resist, and kind of kicks the lasso away, and kind of she falls backwards with a thud, trying to realize exactly what's going on. And but because she had this connection with him through the lasso, she can start to hear some of his thoughts and some of the things that she's thinking. And she's realizing who this character is and how he goes from civilization or planet to planet. He observes, he appears, and then she realizes that a lot of times that he ends the life of that planet. And she's, realizing here that it's not just her world that she's looking at. He's looking at the entire multiverse as possibly just getting rid of everything. And she knows she's got a big threat. So it's time to take this to her friends. So 22,300 miles up above in an orbiting satellite is the Justice League, and Wonder Woman has called an emergency meeting. She's also invited Supergirl to this meeting, and she's telling them about the adjudicator and what she's learned about this guy. He's now kind of disappeared from the Earth. She doesn't know if he's coming back. She assumes he's probably going to, but she also does think that, the other Earths are in danger. So as she tells her story, they understand. Black Canary says, I'm going to go to Earth 2 and warn them, because that was, at this point in time with her origin, she came, or at least she thought she came from Earth 2. And she's going to go and warn the Justice Society. So she takes off for that. And the guys kind of just take off, and Wonder Woman is there, but she's not alone. As we go into the second chapter, each of these issues has 2 chapters, and Zatanna comes up. And I do really enjoy the splash page here of the 2 of them. And she says she thinks she knows where the adjudicator's first test will take place. So Wonder Woman wants to know what she knows, and she transfers the 2 of them. They disappear. And they end up, I believe, in India, if I'm remembering correctly. And yep, they're in India. They believe that the adjudicator is going to send some of his horsemen down, his 4 horsemen. And in the meantime, the adjudicator's watching what's going on. He also sees that Black Canary has made it over to Earth 2 to warn the Justice Society of this imposing threat. And they're right, because on the next page, we see the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are headed in the direction to start judging the Earth, possibly bringing ruin and condemnment with them. So that, we have more. Sorry. I thought that was a wrap up. It isn't.
Nope,
so,
you're not done yet.
Yeah, not yet. So the first horseman is Famine, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
And so here they are in India. And first of all, famine is an issue where they're at already. And now this writer is coming through. And you see on the next page that he starts just striking, and any potential food they have, they start taking away. And Wonder Woman is putting a stop to this. And she instantly grabs him right off of the horse, wrestles him to the ground. Zatanna's there to offer a little bit of an assist as well. And they're trying to stop him. The adjudicator shows up, and he's realizing how powerful Wonder Woman especially is, but some of these heroes. And that will play in a little bit later on. I mean, he kind of takes a little bit of surprise suspense of how well they're doing. Wonder Woman uses the lasso because Zatanna's starting to become weak, and Zatanna's able to get them out of there. Famine fails in his effort, even though they go in forth with another battle with him. The adjudicator is watching all of this. It's a lot of back and forth between watching and taking. So she says, Famine seems physical enough, but my lasso can't control him because he only is a manifestation of the adjudicator's will. So he's just a manifestation. He's not an actual being. So that's why the lasso can't control him. And the adjudicator starts striding towards them. And as you continue down, we see that he starts firing those light rays once again there on that page. That apocalypse horseman is gone, but why? Adjudicator doesn't say anything. Diana says, wherever he strikes and whenever he strikes and wherever I will be there, I shall be there. And Satana says, in a destiny decrees it, Diana, I'll be proud to fight beside you. That brings us to the end of the first issue with a preview of some of the characters that we're about to see in the other two.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've got...
We'll say hi to Ben Compton, who's joined us before Sarah kicks off the second one. Good to see you too. I think the panel that I liked is also one that John likes. And the first panel that you're about to see in the story that Sarah's going to review, I really enjoy as well. So take it away.
Yeah, so the book 2 starts with basically Lois Lane is there to be with Wonder Woman at the Washington Monument and recap the last episode. And this goes on for several pages, which I think is really helpful in this story because there is a lot of ground to cover. And if you had missed the first book, you would have been completely lost. So at some point after Wonder Woman explains all this, she basically says to Lois, but for God's sakes, don't run with the story because it'll scare people. And not sure that the writer, Roy Thomas, really understood Lois Lane because Lois Lane's like, she caves right away. It's like, okay, well, girl to girl, I guess I won't run the story. So, yeah. But neither. Okay, so the next horseman that we must deal with in the story is Plague. And Plague arrives on Earth 2, where Black Canary, Power Girl, and the Huntress battle him in their version of Atlanta. And I have to say that this is really entertaining because they have a disease center, or their version of the CDC. And apparently at the time this was written, the Hyatt Peachtree Hotel was new in Atlanta. And so he makes sure to talk about that Plague wanders over to the Peachtree Hotel. And does his duties over there. But after battling our three heroines, and it's kind of the same as the first. It just kind of goes back and forth and back and forth. And the point being that the heroines basically don't make a dent in this. But just when you're thinking, well, I guess they really are going to lose, the horseman just disappears. And okay, he's gone. And they realize they haven't really beat him, but it's like, I wonder where he went. And then in the next chapter, you've got Linda Danvers, our Supergirl, and Madame Xanadu are transported by the Adjudicator to Earth X to do battle with the Horsemen of War. And they're, nice Nazi symbolisms. I like that. If you've got Nazis, I'm there. So I guess Earth X is what would happen if the Nazis won World War II. Again, a new concept to me. I didn't know many of the Earths. But so they, this is wild. They save a little girl from a tank because, oh my God, there's a Dondi. You have to have a Dondi in these stories. They save a little girl from German tanks. Supergirl destroys more tanks. The Phantom Lady, I loved it. She defended the U.S. Embassy from brainwashed French people who hate Americans. I love that part of it. It's I don't know, man. The 80s are just great. So the Adjudicator, again, same thing. They are basically fighting to a draw. And the Adjudicator pulls his horsemen out of World X and returns the gals back to Earth 1 or Earth 2. I can't remember what Earth they come from. But like I say, it's basically a draw. And we've now met 3 of the 4 horsemen. and we are on to the next issue.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Yep. And bottom tier collector saying how much he enjoys how the covers are made to look like a hardcover novel on all 3 of these issues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
So now I'm bringing up the read here with issue 3. Now my story makes way more sense.
Tony obviously did not read the other 2.
No, I read my issue and I'm just like, what in the Alice in Wonderland is happening? Yeah, like I said, this makes a lot more sense. So here we start off with Wonder Girl and Starfire and Raven's going down with a huge migraine. I mean, that's what it makes it look like. You know,
is.
This could be an ad for some migraine medication. Hey, if it works on the daughter of a demon, imagine what it could do for you. So she's going down. She's having, she has connection between different Earths. And by the way, I was researching the villain for this story, and I found out something interesting about him. He actually does make another appearance much later in the DC universe, which was pretty interesting, I found. But anyway, back to the story. So they go to Paradise Island. They're looking for help. And this panel right here made me giggle a little bit. Like, Amazons are incredibly intelligent people, but I think they know every language, from what I understand. Like, they're masters of language and linguistics, because I hope they are. Wonder Girl just comes down here and just says, "Hola, mother." Like, and I could just imagine that. Like, if I was there, like, I don't know why that's funny to me, but it's just, it made me like, wait, what? Like they're like, okay. No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I don't know why that's funny, but it just
tickled your funny bone.
It did.
Hola, mama.
Like, she combined 2 languages. And there's, like, in case you didn't notice, like, if you look at the word mother, a little tough to see, there's an asterisk right here. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it tells you about why she called her mother.
Yep.
Oh, God.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess they didn't know that. But anyway, so they got Raven, and they're trying to help her, and Starfire's like, there's nothing really I can do. This is beyond me. So we're going to drop her off at the Amazons and let the Amazons try to heal her.
Yeah, and the Amazons are, I don't mean to cut in, but they're essentially saying that they know where you can go to find the adjudicator to try to, since Raven's an empath,
Yes.
she's feeling all this pain that's going on in these other worlds. And this is where you can go to hopefully stop that, which will fix Raven.
Yes. So they do exactly that. And they're going to find the adjudicator. And they do. They come across the adjudicator, and they're actually like looking. How do I explain this? They're kind of like looking inside of his disco ball, his groovy little disco ball. They might as well call this villain John Travolta, to be honest with you. From Saturday Night Fever.
That's a good point. You're right.
And each one of these horsemen represent a terrible John Travolta movie.
Oh, look, you're right. There's
right,
or what's the cowboy one? Urban Cowboy.
Yeah, Urban Cowboy. But so they come across one of the last horsemen, and it was Death. And so they're warning the people, like, listen, you got to leave or whatever. Starfire tries to stop Death with, I think it was maybe one of her powers or fire, but all it really did was, like what you were saying, kind of made it a draw. Nothing really happened, so he kind of just turned around. But then Death starts, like, knocking people off the cliff, like a sore loser on his way out the door, which I thought was pretty funny. He could have done that before. But he did it after. So he's leaving. He's pushing these people off the cliff, and Starfire and Wonder Girl are saving him. And finally, Starfire runs up and grabs Death, which always ends well. We go up there and grab Death by the collar. So she's falling, and she's finally caught. And the adjudicator is watching this whole battle. He's like, listen, I've been doing this the whole way, the wrong way. Like, I'm just going to start launching all my horsemen at once instead of just, divide and conquer. But I know I'm skipping here, and finally Wonder Woman and Supergirl and all these other Earth heroines kind of figure out, we can just smash out of here. And Raven has the best point here is like, don't waste your Kryptonian strength, Supergirl. Our futures of our Earths, if they have any, must now be written by the Amazon alone. So Wonder Woman breaks out to fight all these horsemen. Here's a great panel. I love this panel here. So Wonder Woman versus the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. But I think they tweak it. I think in the Bible, isn't it war, famine, pestilence, and death? Or maybe it's the same thing here.
Yeah, but at what point they said pestilence, plague,
okay.
Interchangeable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so I guess it's the same thing. So Wonder Woman is going to take on the 4 horsemen, but the rest kind of break out. The Crystal's holding Supergirl, Power Girl, and Starfire.
Yeah, she was able to deflect with her
Yep.
bracelets, which freed.
And they come flying out of the sky, and it's this huge battle. They put this panel in here twice. I don't know why. One small and one big. I'm gonna use the big version for this. Look how great this.
Look
panel
how
is.
that disco ball is.
Look at John Travolta. Yeah. I think this is a really great panel, really great artwork. I think this would make a really cool poster, to be honest with you. It kind of looks back on all the different Earths and all the different, heroines right here. And he's got like all these different worlds. This villain kind of reminds me of Brainiac. He's got all these worlds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How he collects the world cities. He's kind of holding all these worlds together in this little crystal here. They call it an incubator. One of them calls it an incubator, but I don't know why.
So
anyway,
essentially, just so you at home know, they're starting to fade out of existence.
yes.
The heroes are.
Yes.
Go ahead, Tony.
No, you're right. They're starting to fade out of existence, and that's what Raven was saying. Like, it's up to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman does manage to lasso him around the neck, and kind of does the whole thing like, listen to me, alien. You've been serving as judge, jury, and watching over other planets. You have to stop. Tell me what makes you think you're worthy of this kind of authority. Who sent you? How do we beat you, essentially? And he tells Wonder Woman is like, there's no way you can stop me. Like, a heartbeat more from your fellow lasso, and I'll destroy all of you like into bits. And that kind of ends the 3rd issue on this really big cliffhanger here, which is pretty cool.
No, it still goes.
Does it?
Yeah.
No.
Wait,
oh yeah,
no,
it does.
wait,
Okay,
more.
sorry. I pull. Okay, you're right. It's very deceiving because that's usually the end right there.
I thought the same thing on my issue.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So the battle continues here. I want to highlight one panel. Might be further down. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I passed it. But trying to remember what happens here.
If I remember, I don't mean to step in on
you're okay.
Tony.
You're okay.
If I remember, using the lasso, because remember, she's connected to him and can hear his thoughts through the lasso now. She starts learning essentially the origin of this character. And she realizes that what was it, Sarah, that he was just kind of put out
he's a crazy man of their
He's a crazy, and they could just kind of said, just go roam and do your thing, right?
Yeah, we don't want to deal with you. And so, but little did they, his bosses know what he was wandering around doing, which was adjudicating, various planets and galaxies and deciding who lives and who dies. So basically, because Diana is linked to him, I think this is a great example of Diana's superpower of I think I know how to solve this. No, adjudicator, tell me more about you. He just so he starts, she gets the fact that what his backstory is, but while it's transmitting to Diana, it's also transmitting back to adjudicator HQ.
Yeah.
And so basically his bosses call him back. It was like poof. So he's removed from our story and saves all Earths.
Yeah, and Zatanna then sends everyone back to their planet where they're supposed to be.
Yep.
And that kind of brings us to the end.
He does.
Bottom tier collectors asking about the artwork. It is not Perez, that is Gene Colan.
Yes, and that's who
was the regular Wonder Woman artist at that time. So
it's the actual end this time.
Yeah, that's the real end.
That's the real end. Yeah.
So now comes the part that I've actually been most excited about. I kind of want to dialogue about this. What did you guys think of this story? Sarah, we'll start with you.
I liked I liked a couple things about it. I liked the structure. I thought the idea of using the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse was a great way to keep a long-running and kind of intense 3-issue arc going. So there was structure to it so that, my tiny brain could follow along. I liked the fact that it was taking the super heroines and putting them all together and see how they work. I like some of the art. I'm not a fan of the covers. I thought the covers were, I like the fact that they look like books, but the artwork on the cover just doesn't do justice to some of the nice story art that's in here.
And I think those are Ross Andrew covers.
Yeah, I like even the disco ball stuff. This stuff is good. I mean, I also thought that the language in this is kind of, it's very prosy. It's very purple, prosy, kind of overwrought. The dialogue between the superheroines is as bland as you can imagine, but the exposition is kind of just very heavy and heavier than it needed to be. And the thing that really struck me is that none of the heroines solved any of these problems. You know what I mean?
True.
They didn't do anything other than, Wonder Woman got to figure out how to get out of her little cell, latch onto the guy and, tap into his psyche so the bosses could call him home. I mean, it's like, okay, I guess so. So it's kind of okay. I mean, I wish the women had solved it. I wish they had solved it. Or there was a story that was started out so that they could solve it. And my other dig about this is that in the first issue, they go to India where they're dealing with famine.
Which is a popular news topic at that time.
Oh, it was huge. Mm-hmm. It was huge. And, there have been a couple Superman stories from back then talking about why do we really need a Superman? The issue becomes is like, if you guys can't help us solve these massive problems that we have, why do we have you? And in this one, it was particularly just, bug on my shoulder because Wonder Woman is basically like, yeah, famine sucks here, but we don't have to worry about it, we being superheroes, because the UN's dealing with it and the EST Foundation people are dealing with it. Do you guys remember EST? EST?
I don't.
It was in the 70s and it was self-help group that was founded by a guy named Werner Erhard. So it's Erhard Systems Training. And it was basically kind of a mini cult where you would go, you'd give them thousands of dollars, and you would lock yourself in hotel ballrooms for 5 days and come out feeling, very wise. He was mushing together Buddhism and cognitive behavioral therapy, nothing that was brand new, but the idea was, oh my God, I feel so great. And then you would be signing up for additional classes and signing other people up for them. So in any event, Est started this food, anti-hunger program, and he had all sorts of famous people, like John Denver was the most famous, pitching for, give us money, we'll feed people in India. And it turns out they didn't feed a soul. It was a total fraud. So that's just a little backstory about, the point being that anytime comic books try and bring in something that was topically meaningful about how can we solve some of these big world problems, you're just setting yourself up for failure because it's an unanswerable question, and it's a tough one. And I think they failed spectacularly with that first story and famine in India. Just
imagine being a little kid and hearing about famine in India and going to school and your teacher's like, hey, how come there's famine in India?
Right.
And you raise your hand, you say, well, because one woman couldn't beat that horseman.
Right.
Yeah.
Duh, of course. Did you not read it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get the paperback. See me.
Yeah.
I have to call your mom.
Tony, what are your thoughts on this storyline?
It was interesting. I feel I'm gonna have to echo some of Sarah's thoughts here that I would have liked to see the heroes, come together, Justice League style, like combo this guy, use your power, and then together, like, we'll send him back to wherever he came from or kill him or whatever. That didn't happen. It would have been great. But then again, it was only the end of the issue. And I don't know what happens next. Maybe they do beat him. I have no idea. But I would just like to see that more team up of them in the future. One character I think they should have added was Mara. I think that would have been
Okay, I'm glad
cool.
you brought that up because to me, there's 3 major characters missing from this story.
Yep.
Batgirl, Hawkgirl, or Hawkwoman, and Mara.
I totally agree. Yeah. I would have subbed out Power Girl.
Right.
Just because it's identical to Supergirl. You don't really need 2 of those.
Okay, you brought up something else that I wanted to mention. Now, I did not fact check this, okay? But the internet says that this is the only meeting pre-crisis between Supergirl and Power Girl. And they do talk to each other in one panel. Supergirl says something, Power Girl answers. Sarah, didn't you mention, or maybe it was Tony, in the review where it says, don't waste your Kryptonian strength. Well, there's 2 Kryptonians in there.
Yeah.
And what a missed opportunity that was, not to get more of Supergirl and Power Girl together than just one throwaway panel.
Yeah.
Well, back then they probably didn't think they would ever use those 2 characters together, or maybe. I mean, still to this day, Power Girl's still not used as often, or even referenced that often. But I mean, who knows? Maybe that was a thought. But I agree. Missed casting opportunities for sure. Missed dialogue opportunities for sure. Not that it was bad. I mean, it could have been better, in my opinion. Didn't really care so much for the villain. I thought the villain could have been better. But I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5.
Okay.
Maybe 1.75.
Rounding up.
Yeah.
So for me, there were things as well. I love the concept of bringing all these heroines together. I thought perhaps it would have been a little more interesting had they ventured over and tried to get Superwoman, the evil Superwoman from Earth 3, and say, no, you have to join our cause.
Oh.
I thought that could have been interesting.
Now that's interesting.
when it came to the adjudicator stuff, I got really lost, even in the rereads. And some of it was a little boring, and some of it just didn't seem to make sense to me.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because of the pacing of the story. Like I said, you kind of understand what happens right at the very end. And by the way, Gene Colan wrote this story, as we said, but the plot was given to him by Paul Levitz for this. So
I thought it was Roy Thomas wrote the.
I'm sorry, Roy Thomas. I'm sorry, you're absolutely right. Thank you for correcting me on that. Roy Thomas wrote it with Paul Levitz providing the plot idea. And then Gene Colan did the art.
Yeah, I think, and Roy Thomas has a special place in my women's livers from space grouping, because he wrote that terrible Avengers story where
the
powder
Avengers
puff,
83,
the powder puff protest meeting or whatever. So it does not surprise me that Roy Thomas would he's not hostile towards the female characters here, but he seems far more interested in writing this purple convoluted exposition gobbledygook, and trying for high-mindedness, and so it to me, the superheroes are, just pick one from column A, one from column B, throw them in there, which is too bad, because if it's the first time that they are doing battle together, it'd be nice if there was a coherent story that used their skills.
And I understand that this is meant because it's supposed to be cool. That's the first time that the females had an adventure together, a team up. But if the adjudicator was so much of a threat, why didn't anyone call the male members of the Justice League and say, we need backup?
Right. Yeah, they just disappeared.
They just, fine, you got it. We're gone.
I like the panel where Batman's like, okay, we got to head out. So
yeah,
this is mic drop.
A lot of Wonder Woman fans, what they don't like about this story is, once again, remember I said this was also supposed to celebrate Wonder Woman's 40th anniversary. What did it do to celebrate her? Nothing. I mean, she was the big hero out of everyone, but it's her book.
Right. Yeah, you better do something right.
So I don't always want to think that I'm panning. There's some things I really liked. I liked the artwork. Parts of the story I liked. I love seeing all the heroines together in these issues. But the adjudicator was hard to read and kind of boring. I really should give it a 3, but I'm giving it a 3.5 for the nostalgia factor.
You're
and Sarah, we need your grade. Oh, we need your grade too.
I'm with Tony. I'm a 2.
You're a 2?
I'm a 2-star for the.
I feel bad because you bought these books based on just knowing you were coming on the show blind, and I'm like, what if she just hates these?
It's not a just hate.
Okay.
It isn't. These are. I think it's. I didn't realize it was the first time that. First of all, the 40th anniversary thing is great. So it belongs. It's an important set of books, so it belongs in the collection. And
it is history, a historical moment in DC Comics for sure. And also 20 years from the time this was published, there was an homage done to this storyline, believe it or not.
You're kidding.
It isn't exactly the exact same thing, and it's not the same villain, but Phil Jimenez, during his run, kind of did a little 2-issue homage to this in Wonder Woman Volume 2, issue 174 and 175, where he brought even more of the suit. I think he might have done everyone save Nubia, because nobody used Nubia for anything, which Sarah, by the way, I think this would have been a great time to bring Nubia back. This storyline would have been a great opportunity to bring her back.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they went to Paradise Island. They could have. Hola, Mama. Is Nubia around? Have you seen her? Can you get a hold of her? We kind of could use her.
We've seen Jean Malo, who's here. Thanks, Jean. Good to see you. So, Sarah, what grade are you going to give it out of the 5?
I'm going to give it a 2.
Oh, that's right. You said, okay. So we got a 2, 2, and a 3.5 from the big Wonder Woman fan. But even if the big Wonder Woman fan says, I think I should really give it a 3, but I'm going 3.5 because it brings back memories for me. And so seeing some of those panels was just exciting for me again, even though the story was what it was.
Well, now I like it even more because of the disco ball reference.
Oh,
so
the
now
disco
I
ball,
have
yeah.
I have the John Travolta thing in my head about it now, so it's even better.
That is a reason to like it more.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Oh yeah,
get that.
they remember that this villain does make a second appearance or kind of mention in 2015.
Where was that?
2015 in Convergence issue 7.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
And if you remember, the Convergence line was not popular at all. It was when DC was moving from New York to LA. They were just like, here's a bunch of stuff. Hopefully you don't get bored with it while we're moving. But in the Convergence, he was taking these worlds, these cities, and he was making them fight. And there's a reference too. And now, like, as I was reading this, it clicked because I had never read this story before. And in Convergence, when I read it, it said, you know, just like the old timer the Adjudicator should have done years ago.
Oh.
And I was like, who the hell's the Adjudicator? And I just let it go. And then today, like, when I was reading
today, it all makes sense.
And I was like, oh man, this kind of reminds me of Convergence. I was like, oh my God, Convergence. Yep. There it is. And
wow.
So that merges those two universes together. So,
interesting.
And it's confirmed the Adjudicator lives inside the sphere of the gods. I'll show you. I'll pop on my screen. I'll show you.
Okay.
Lives inside the disco ball.
Yes. So this is the DC multiverse map. So this outside here, the yellow is.
Oh, no.
I think Tony froze.
Oh no.
He's just talking away and.
Antonio.
Hey, the amazing Murfinator showed up. He's doing some hashtag John Kent. Awesome.
Oh, poor Tony. We've lost him.
Poor Tony's having testicle difficulties.
You guys, God's sakes.
So I'm actually going to take this moment as we see if Tony, he's frozen in time. I'm actually going to tell you, I was going to say this to the end, but since we have a moment, I'm going to tell you about our guest next week, who's the first time guest on Fanboys Live in the Retro Review. And, he's gone. And Sarah, I think you might want to catch the show at least on the rewind or not, because you're going to be
I always catch you guys on the rewind. I just
awesome.
Want you to know, yeah.
Because you're going to be seeing and hearing some Lois Lane talked about next week. But the book is going to be John Byrne's Man of Steel. So that was
I love that book.
We're doing the first 3 issues of that next week
great.
With our special guest, Comic Books NYC, and that was his pick.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So I'm excited to have Kavi on the show next week. First time guest on here. And I think that's going to be a great...
I'm excited. I'll even try and catch it live.
Awesome. And speaking of Lois Lane, on my channel, I think that you want to tune in, spend 60 seconds of your life for that back issue of the week short that I drop. You know, I drop my shorts every Monday morning. And the back issue of the week tomorrow, I'm doing an all-female month, just like I did last year. You were the inspiration for that last year.
Oh, great.
And your channel was the inspiration for me to do it. And I'm doing it again this year. So I picked out 4 more Marvel and DC ladies that had their own titles. And I'm spotlighting that. And the one featured tomorrow, I'll just say has Shebab written all over it.
Okay.
I will even say the name Robert Kaniger in it.
Oh, God, yes.
So
oh, my God.
You.
It is me.
I really want to express some thanks to my last 2 back issue of the week shorts had back-to-back 1K plus views on them.
Hey, congratulations. That's fantastic.
This one really shocked me. Now, you know, the one before was on Ant-Man, and there's an Ant-Man movie, so I can see why there's a little bit of interest. But to get 1K views on the Secret Society of Supervillains special.
Seriously.
I was not expecting that at all.
That's
so
fantastic.
Thank you guys. I mean, there was an extra spring in my step all this week. So I was pretty stoked about that.
People love your content, Ryan. They really do. So
I appreciate those that just want to spend time seeing what I have to contribute. That just means the world to me.
When I started this YouTubing stuff 3 years ago, it never occurred to me that I did it as kind of a lark, and that, I thought I was the only one who sat down and watched people's videos. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, you're actually watching it? You have something nice to say in response? How cool.
Yeah. Tony messaged me saying that his computer decided that was a good time for it to restart at that point.
Okay. All right.
So we're waiting for Tony. But in the meantime, I'll tell you, I had that back issue of the week's doing great. If you guys want to give me 1K on the one I'm dropping tomorrow, I'd be good with that too. If not, I am appreciative just for the support and the fun. I love doing those back issue of the week. I think it gives you a chance to learn, 60 seconds just to learn maybe about a comic book that you didn't know anything about that I have in my collection. So.
Right. How many comic books do you have? How big is your collection?
We're on 6,500.
Wow.
So
that's a fair amount.
Yeah. What about you? Where are you sitting at?
I'm very petite. 1,200 is about what but it's because I'm so limited. I'm DC only. Sure. And Silver and Bronze Age, and even within that, it's superhero. Although I do have some romance books, so I really am. I've got a very tiny window of that kind of stuff, but it's about 1,200, which is pretty manageable.
Yeah. So I will say that I dropped a comic book editions video this past week, just showing some recent additions into my collection. Your boy's gotten another omnibus, and I wasn't expecting financially to pull the trigger on that, but I needed to because it went out of print. So
it did? Oh my gosh.
So
those things go
I
out
needed
of
to
print?
get that.
No idea.
Yeah. So this week I'll be dropping another comic book editions video on Tuesday. There's the back issue of the week short. And for my book show, what I decided to do, I showed this last year on my channel. Do you know why, Sarah? This is ripped like this for a reason. Do you know why?
It was remaindered.
Yes.
And sent back.
Exactly. So I saved this comic book literally from the garbage because it was headed because the comic book store is not even going to put this in the dollar bin.
Right.
This was going to get thrown in the garbage, as was this one.
Well, see, listen.
And I couldn't let that happen. I could not let that happen.
And even though Tony and I were like, 2, and you've got a healthy 3, it's still it shouldn't be shredded. This is still, it's part of her canon. And and clearly the adjudicator keeps getting gets mentioned every now and then. So
yeah, every couple of decades.
Every decade, whether you need it or not.
So that's my book show because I did save these books. I had to save these
classic.
books.
But are you going to find higher grade copies or?
I already have a higher grade.
Oh, you do.
So I believe I actually have my original childhood copy, and I think I have another copy of it as well. So this is of this issue. I think I have 4.
Wow.
Yeah. So the 2 are headed for the trash. And
well, you can't. It's no. We're a no-kill shelter here. So
and you'll even love some of the pedigree here on the back.
Oh, that's nice. Come on, you know what I want to see? Rip off the back cover. Rip off the front cover.
No. We'll leave it the way it is. So that's kind of what's happening on my channel and my book show. Sarah, tell us what's happening first of all on your channel. What have you done? What do you have planned?
Yeah, I've this is it is my year of Lois Lane is basically what I'm working on in my collection. And last week I put up a Lois Lane Neil Adams covers. That are in my
I didn't
collection.
realize that he had done as many as he
Yeah,
did.
yeah, he had a healthy little run going there in the late 60s. And they're good. They're really nice. And oh, look, there's Tony.
Sorry.
Whose computer decided to puke all over his feet.
Yeah, right. We'll talk about great timing.
Incidentally, mine did it right before the show started.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so if these things happen in threes, I better start talking fast. So I had a Lois Lane video last week with Neil Adams covers. I have been bringing some Lois Lane stuff into the collection, and so I'll have some videos coming up this month talking about Lois Lane, and I think that's it for my channel. I don't have anything else planned.
What about your book show portion?
Now my book show, few things to share with you. So
go for it.
Speaking of Lois Lane, this is that Superman. It's at #1 now. This is a variant cover. And Lois Lane has been made editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet. So I had to get that because part of what I'm collecting this year is books with Lois Lane on the cover. So it's sending me back to the Silver Age and Bronze Age and some books in the Copper Age and recent ones that I just didn't have. So I'm adding that. And part of that, my friend Rob bought me this variant cover of Harley Quinn romances because it's a riff on, it's like a one shot with romance stories in it that are.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. With Lois Lane, Superman. And I just love that, Oh,
the Brainiac ship.
The Brainiac ship. So I had to have it. So that's nice. Now, I was telling Ryan before we started that, has this ever happened to you where you've ordered some comics and then promptly forgot about them? And for some reason, it took a month and a half for a bunch of comics to show up. And I was like, oh, I guess I ordered those. Why did I order them? I'm not sure. Other than it's Gail Simo's Red Sonja. I think I was after facsimile books.
Oh,
and gotcha. I don't have any Red Sonja. It's like, well, geez, I like Gail Simone. I should probably check that out. Same thing with this. I had no idea. So it's like, oh, well, it's a, facsimile. I like those. So this. And then this one. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't cracked these yet. I have not opened them at all. So I'm looking forward to reading them and maybe I'll have something to say about them. I can make on my channel. And then
the Marvel fanfare, first of all, that's the beginning of a 4-part story and it's all George Perez art
really?
In all 4 issues. It's actually a pretty decent story as I remember. I haven't read it for a little while. I read it maybe just a couple years ago, but I remember enjoying it even on the reread. And I had it as an original collector.
So you're saying that chances are high that I'm like, oh, I have to read more of it. I have to go buy the other books.
Yeah, but luckily the other 3 issues aren't too bad price-wise.
Good. Yeah. Good. I had to get this facsimile because it's a Neil Adams cover.
Yep.
And so I had to have that. And I guess apparently while I was at it, well, I see this one all over the place. I know nothing.
That just came out too.
So yeah, but it looks cool. So it's like, and the few Spider-Man books I have, I really like. So it's like, okay. And then I got She-Hulk, that reprint. And then I had to get another copy of that. Come on. Yeah. So, so them's my books. That's what's going to keep me reading.
I think I know why that took so long for your order to come now.
Why? What
because
happened?
That Spider-Man just got released, and I bet they weren't shipping everything until everything was in stock.
That must be it.
And that Spider-Man just got released.
Just. Okay. Well, listen, that's the great thing about growing older. Every day is a new day. And being forgetful about things like this can sometimes work to my advantage. So there you go.
Back when I was showing the comic books that I saved here, I got a little elbow cough from Bob. So I do want to say hi to Bob and thank him for joining us for our live stream tonight. So Tony, what's going on in your channel? You have been so successful this past week, especially in terms of views and subscribers. It is awesome what you've accomplished. Congratulations on that. So tell us about your channel and a book show.
In terms of a book show, I've got we're talking about the new Superman that just came out. Was it Dawn of DC is what we're talking about. So here we have the 1 in 25.
I like that.
Retailer.
That's nice. That's cool.
Yeah. I like just the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Totally.
Nothing fancy about this. I mean, it's still good. I'm not trying to say it's mediocre artwork, but like it's simple and elegant.
Yep.
So I like that. We were also talking about Nubia. So we have Nubia and the Amazons.
And you got it signed.
Signed. Oh. I am the aristocrat of autographs. So
you are.
Mark Morales and Aretha Martinez signed that one.
Cool.
Wonder Woman, DC Future State. Also signed by Mark Morales and Aretha Martinez and Becky Cloonan up at the top.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So that's kind of cool. I like that cover. That's kind of why I wanted them to sign it. The cover was cool. Last but not least, Wonder Woman 80th anniversary spectacular. Becky Cloonan, Amanda Reeder, and Doc Shaner. So
awesome. That's the Bruce Timm variant cover.
Yes. And coincidentally, like one of 2 covers at my LCS. So
okay.
not that I was like, I gotta have this cover. It was like this, or the other one was kind of I was like, okay, guess I'm doing this. But things coming up on the channel, just a lot of shorts. Been killing it in the shorts department. I don't know why, but I gotta shout out this statistic because I absolutely love it. And to someone like who has a ton of subscribers, like 1 million subscribers is nothing. Plus 28 subscribers, plus and when you break it down to percentage, it's plus 1,300%.
That's awesome.
You're on fire.
I know those 2 numbers, like they don't really seem like they coincide. I wish it was the other way around, plus 1,300 subscribers, but
yeah,
that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I just every time I saw that number, I was like, it's not even that big of a. Don't get me wrong, that's a big jump, and I'm appreciative for it. But like, really, that's 1,300% for me. Like, okay, I don't know if that's kind of insulting or compliment. Like, I don't know how to take that, but shorts, I guess, is where the party's at. So
that's what they're saying. So
that's what I'm gonna keep doing. I don't think I've had one in the last week not go over 1,000. So in terms of views,
that's.
Well, maybe I ought to try one of those. Except I
recommend it.
How short do they have to be to be short?
I think under a minute. I think
minute is as long as you can go.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so it goes like 1 minute and 1 second. It's just a regular video at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you look at my shorts, like they are absolute low hanging fruit. Like there's no special editing, and like it is like just a picture and a little swoosh. You know what I mean?
Okay. I want to say something else just real quickly while we have. I should have mentioned it before. Reading this story tonight made me want to read more Madame Xanadu.
Yes.
I thought she was really good in this story.
Her first issue, Doorway to Nightmare, is very high on my want list. It's definitely in the top 5. And it's not really that price is an issue. It's more like a condition. I feel like it's such a valuable key that I can hold a little bit and find like a 9.6 or a 9.8 for, not a second mortgage on my house, which is good. But yeah, that's an affordable key that's out there too. Or even Madame Xanadu #1 is still affordable. I
don't have any of her own books or books that she headlined in. I actually don't have that.
I only have the one. Just one.
You only have the one? Do you have any, Sarah?
No, and I have no Power Girl.
I have a Power Girl.
How about Huntress?
Yeah. I have I have a couple, and I got the facsimile of the one where she's, that DC special with the green cover where she's
that's tied for her first appearance because that and another book came out on the same day and she's in both of them. But they call the DC one her first appearance because story-wise, that happens first, and then on the last page continues into the next book, which went on sale. It's an All-Star Comics.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that went on sale the same day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that character, and maybe I should, I'll do a deep dive on her.
She was used in Swamp Thing, the TV show, the more recent TV show. I got that. I can't remember the actress's name from season 1 of The Walking Dead to play her. And I thought she did a great job as Madame Xanadu. So, it's kind of another thing that we lost when they screwed up the Swamp Thing TV show is, the potential that Madame Xanadu could have been. Would have been great. It's a shame.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
The history of so many DC characters. It's like,
oh my gosh, that series was seriously setting up Justice League Dark for sure. It had Madame Xanadu, it had Swamp Thing, it had Phantom Stranger, Blue Devil, or at least a Shadow Pact.
Yeah.
Oh man, could have been great. Could have been great.
It was a longer Fanboys Live in the Retro Review tonight, but we had so much fun, and it wouldn't have been the same if you weren't here. Once again, if you're watching on the Rewind, we appreciate you so much. If you have not subscribed to Silver Haired Bronze Age Babe, there's the link in this video. Please do so. It would mean the world to me if you did that. And if you haven't subbed up Tony or even some of the missing fanboys, we even included their links because we're getting a referral for every new subscriber that they get. So
wait, you're getting referrals? I'm not getting referrals.
Wow.
You're getting paid?
That's going to keep me in a bag and a board for about a month.
Yeah.
So please sub up everyone and everyone that was in the chat too, because we want to always
each other up
community and enjoy the content that
everyone
has their own contribution and even if you don't have your own channel, you still see what maybe you don't even know how much work that goes into even putting out a video or something too. But it means I know as a creator, when you see someone subscribe, it's just another, I'm doing something that someone likes. So
it really, and to see people in the chat who want to hang out with us on, on a random night to talk about comic books, it's really cool.
I know I appreciate it because this is the only day of the week that I get to talk comics. So.
This is it.
This is full frontal nerdity.
Oh my God.
I like that. I like
cool.
Yeah, right here. Sarah, last time we had you on the show, I said, well, I'll let you pick, what story when you want to come back. And then I threw that out the window because when this story came up, I said, you are coming back. It's just,
okay.
You were my pick. So I should really hold to that, but we would love to have you back and we'd love you to pick a story for your next appearance.
I will give it some thought and, hopefully in a few months we can reconvene and talk comic books on the one day of the week that Tony gets to talk comic books. So
yeah, right.
Tony, you were gone at the time that I announced it, but next week we have Comic Books NYC on as a special guest, and he picked Man of Steel, the John Byrne reboot.
Ooh,
that is his pick. So I'm very excited.
I like it. Yeah,
to talk with him. And Nashhead, I agree with you there. Thank you again for spending time with us. Oh, right at the end as we're signing off, Yeehaw shows up. Michael Menares. So there's someone else that Michael hasn't put out a video in a little while. And I know you've been busy, Mike. I hope that you do continue to put out videos because I really enjoy your videos when you put them out. Another underappreciated channel right there is Yeehaw's channel, Michael Menares.
Absolutely.
And if you want to know why I call him Yeehaw, you'll just have to figure that out.
Watch his vids.
He knows why I call him Yeehaw. So,
is it because he comes in the chat and says Yeehaw?
No, I'm not going to say why. But he knows why I call him Yeehaw.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, Nash, we all do that. Have you watched this channel? This channel is all about that. So... All right. Thank you again for watching.
Gore Vidal's going to look for this. So see, Gore Vidal's going to look for that story.
Oh, Gore's with us. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
We won't judge you.
It's judged. Too late.
Yeah. We adjudicated you.
We adjudicated you.
Get into my crystal ball. Let's go to the discotheque.
Let's go to Disco Palace and hang out with the adjudicator.
This has been the greatest DC Comics show on YouTube, Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. Thank you again for joining us, and have a great week. See you.